Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Dwarf Fortress 2014 Anvilquested. And this is an appendix episode. We haven't had one in a while, so let's take a look at what's going on in Namnatom, the destined planet. However, before we get started on that, there's just one little bit of business that I need to take care of. I don't like doing stuff like this, but it just seems pretty obvious to me. I currently have 147 named dwarves. But if you go to the first episode of this series, it only has 117 likes. So that means 30 people have named dwarves, but did not like the video. So if you made the effort to have a named dwarf, I would very much appreciate it if you would go and like the first video of the series, just because it helps me out. It allows YouTube to give me a bit more exposure so that people might be able to find my series who might enjoy it. So I really appreciate that, and thank you very much. So we are back at Namnatom, the destined planet, and the year is 155, and I was incorrect a few episodes ago when I posited that we were 4 years into Anvilquested. Actually, since we started in the year 150, we're more like, well, now we're like 6 years into Anvilquested, so I believe we're in the spring or early summer of our 6th year. Before I do anything, let's introduce some of our new dwarves. Actually, I'm not going to use Dwarf Therapist to show you because they're all over the place. They're not all in one area, so I'll just name them out. So welcome to Anvilquested, Grumdrawl Brandhammer, Blue, Urist McWinfield, Monkey Mark Mario, King Tip, Dr. Congo, Commissar Lachlan V, or Lachlanv, Mike the Liar, Yeens Beans, Puggles, Arvalorn, Carp Killer, Fruitcake, and Marigar. Welcome to Anvilquested. We now have a ton of dwarves. I don't know exactly how many, but it's a lot. Alright, so we're here in Namnatom, the destined planet. And the first thing is, we talked about how in the engravings and in the artifacts, there's a whole lot of information about the Grand Walls, that is the mountain range that we live in, but not so much about the jungles of nature, which is the majority of our embark. And I posited that that might be because the game just picks one, and it was also suggested that maybe it's where the engraving takes place. However, there might be a third explanation, and I'll show it to you here. If you go to Regions, and you type in Grand Walls, what you see are tons of things. There's a ton of deaths, 164, all these events. It just goes on and on and on. But on the other hand, if you want to look for the jungles of nature, or not, maybe. No, maybe the jungle of nature? Jungle of nature. There we are. Nothing. There is an elf named Tira Mighty Cloudy, and that's it. So maybe there aren't any engravings of stuff that's been going on in the jungle of nature because nothing has been going on in the jungle of nature. That seems to be a pretty good idea. So moving on, let's take a quick look at our, well, let's just go to the main screen. Our civilization. Or the map, actually. Let's go to the map. So first of all, let's go back to when we started. Okay, 150. Because there's stuff I want to show you. So here's Anvilquested. Okay, now we have not yet been visited by the elves. And even though the elves own this cave here right by us, I think the reason for that is the actual closest elven city is way down here. Or way up here. Either way, it's very far away. So maybe they just haven't felt the need to come all the way to Anvilquested. But as things go on, we started 150, then we have 151, 152, 153. Oh, you know what? Actually, I did this wrong. Let's toggle wars. Okay. 151, 152. You'll notice this dotted line here. that's because this goblin civilization, the Wraith of Sabers, attacked us in 152. Now, this is different from the goblin civilization that is terrorizing our homeland, the Bridled Evils. So it's worth noting that we're actually at war now with 2 goblin civilizations, but the ones that are attacking us are the Wraith of Sabers. We beat back that attack, and then 153 was uneventful, but then we were attacked again in 154. That was the large battle we just witnessed, and that was also put to rest. So in 155, we are once again safe. However, let's go back to 150. Let's take a look at our civilization as a whole. So we're here on the southeastern end of the Grand Walls, and what I believe is the case is that if an area is darkened, that means it has fallen. But they haven't determined if someone's taken it over or if it's fallen to ruin, but you know that something's happened. It's no longer there. So this is when the war started with the Bridled Evils. You can see that they are here. And there's also this human civilization here as well. So in 151, the Bridled Evils just went nuts. They conquered a bunch of the human towns. They conquered a bunch of our hillock or mountain homes. And then they continued to do so in 152. They took over Price Rope, which we've heard about multiple times in our reports and in our artifacts and engravings. But then they seemed to stop, and then in 154, suddenly, 155, they're gone. They've been reduced back to their initial 4 holdings, and that's not because they were conquered. If you'll notice, we haven't taken anything back that they conquered. It's all fallen to ruin. It's just that they have contracted. Why? I don't know. But they are no longer, I mean, they're still a threat, obviously, but they're no longer the power they once were. Even the human towns have been abandoned. So I have upgraded to the new version of the game, so hopefully the history will be more interesting now, because in the old version, the attacker always won. But now, there's other factors involved. The defender might win. So hopefully this might mean good things for our dwarven civilizations, because as far as I understand, they are not often the aggressor. They are more often the aggressee. So if they win more often, it'll be better for us, I hope. You know, what might have happened to the goblins is they are also at war with this necromancer tower. And maybe it's just taken them apart. Who knows? But that's the kind of world situation. The Bridled Evils have been reduced. Our civilization is still hanging on. And the Wraith of Sabers is attacking us at Anvilquested, and they aren't getting very far. At least not at this point. So let's talk about some historical figures. If you've been following the episodes, you'll note that when my friends Elena Starbreeze and Alpha Blades moved to Anvilquested, they had a daughter who did not come with them. Now, there's a legend that Alpha Blades tossed that daughter in a ditch as a baby and expected her, like a Spartan, to raise herself. I don't know about the validity of that. That's just some hearsay, probably by dwarves who have a grudge or an axe to grind. But regardless, in 154, that daughter showed up at the gates of Anvilquested. So let's take a look at that. So Elena Starbreeze is obviously a member of our civilization. She was involved in 2 battles, the Assault of Cuts and the Ferocious Sieges. We won both. And Alpha is her husband, and their daughter is Elena Blades, Trot Granite. And it says child, but I don't know if that's necessarily fair, because she's in her 40s. But she's also a competent hammer dwarf, so she has military skill. She was also part of the Assault of Cuts, even though she didn't actually fight in it. But I wanted to see, you know, what happened. Like, why wasn't she with her mother and her father? So it appears that she was, I guess, thrown in a ditch. I mean, maybe not in such terms, but she settled in her own city of Gleam Machine in 110 when she was born. And Gleam Machine is down here in the southwestern portion of our empire. Also living there at the time was Vika, Percival II, and Bry, 7 cubed, Ash. And so she was there for a short while, but then she moved to, then she married somebody, Olin Basement Beards, who currently also is at Anvilquested. And she settled in Anvilquested in 153, actually, in the early winter. Whereas Elena and Alpha Blades, they lived in the city of Attic Unites. And Elena actually got attacked by a night creature, a Nan Faint Fatal, the Sable Cavern. And that was in 80, so 30 years before her daughter was even born. And she survived. She escaped. And then she and Alpha Blades moved to Nutsbolts, which is here kind of south of the desert area, right in the middle of our land. And she was joined there by Haus II, by Bloodruna, Byzantine, and quite possibly more, but a lot happened in Nutsbolts. So then they moved to Anvilquested in 152. So now, despite never actually living together, the family is reunited at Anvilquested. So I thought that was pretty neat. Just to be sure, did Alpha Blades also move? Yeah, Alpha Blades also moved to Nutsbolts. He originally settled, I guess before he got married, in Attic Swallowed, which is here right north of the Great Southern Desert. And in Attic Swallowed, we had Mason used to live there, Dr. Quacksalver, Bavette Argon, and the Etruscan. So you could see that our dwarves represent a cross-section of all these different towns and villages, and they've moved to Anvilquested, presumably because we are the coolest thing going. We are secure, we're safe, we have a lot of material wealth, our military is renowned. And let me show you just how renowned our military is. If we want to go quickly to Dwarf Therapist, I have us marked here based on how many kills our people have. And just so you know, I've changed up the screen a little bit so that you can see the information about the dwarf here, so you don't have to necessarily look at the pop-up. In fact, I wish there was a way I could turn the pop-up off, because we don't need it anymore. We start off with Oscar Benitez, who has 86 kills, which many of them we've seen have been animals and such. Then we have Silverhaze with 23, Tyrion Lannister with 5, Atlas 4, Hank Luke, Tection also 4, Good Bad Dwarf, Gordosh, the Zax, Crow Guy, all with 3, or actually Crow Guy has 2, Mina Moonheart, Bavette, Bloodruna, well Mina has 2, Bavette, Bloodruna, and Bronzebeard, who's not in the military, actually has a kill, so he has been drafted. He killed Akia. Firos, Girai, House II, and Orthea all have 1 kill, along with Ronan Copperblade. Actually, Ronan Copperblade, what are you? You're unassigned. Well, guess what, buddy? One day in the past, you killed a... Oh, wait. You killed a... Kia. So, you are now in the military. Congratulations on your military prowess. So these are our, so far, notable dwarves and the kills that they have killed, I guess. So, alright. What else is going on? Well, we've had some engravings since the last appendix episode, so let's talk a little bit about what those showed us. There's a lot of engravings about a rock by the name of Tunum Strength Fords. Oops, that's Tunem. There he is, the Barbarian of Hooves. He is an enemy of almost everybody. He is associated with sky, wind, and hunting. But he's dead. He died in 69. Wow, okay. He only killed 9 people, so he's not that amazing. But one of the people he killed was a human by the name of Enid Flanked Cavern. Let's see where Enid is here. There he is, Enid Flanked Cavern, and that took place in 57, and that is one of the engravings on our Pillars of History. He also struck down an elf named Amane Roar Opened, which is the last elf. Oh, actually, he was killed by Amane Roar Opened. Maybe that's what it was. Oops, in a duel. So, okay, he wounded Amane. That's what our engraving is about, but our Dwarven engraver, who I don't remember who it was at the time, apparently the elf got revenge and killed the rock, so that's fantastic. We have another rock, though, that we engrave about quite a bit, and he is Ospen Winter Squid. There he is, the Cyclopean Eagle. he is dead as well by an elf of a Snarled Reams, or Snarled Dreams. He had 14 kills, so a bit more notable. But the engraving that we have particularly about him is him killing an elf by the name of Leda Rhyming Wonders. And that was in the year 30. Leda Rhyming Wonders, yes. And finally, there's an engraving of a troll by the name of Zulban Earthion. Or not Alb. Z-U-L-B. Zulban Earthion. There he is. He settled in the Grand Walls of 142 and confronted the human Thratpin Juggletrades and apparently was defeated. And that was notable enough, I suppose, for our engravers to put that on the walls of our fortress. So there you have it. Also, on our artifacts, there is our artifact mechanism, and on top of that is an Etten by the name of Moral Russet Sparkled. Let's take a look at him. Moral Russet Sparkled, the Embrace of Song. He has 11 kills, 13 attacks. He settled in the Grand Walls in the beginning of the world in year 1 and killed many people. The particular engraving on the mechanism is him confronting a dwarf named Edsel Paddled Springs. I'm not going to look for Edsel, but it was a confrontation. It didn't say who won, who lost, what happened. Well, let's find out. Actually, that's a good point. Let's find out what happened. Edsel Paddled Springs, huh? There he is. In 68, Morul fought with the dwarf Edsel Paddle Springs, while defeated the later escaped. Okay, so Edsel fought the troll, but lost and escaped with his life. So those are our main engravings that we haven't talked about yet. I also had the entire dining hall engraved, and while I'm not going to go over all of those, many of them are repetitive, many of them are of these same instances we've already gone over, there are some funny ones. Like, for example, Ernst McCado, he engraved a Kia man stealing chert blocks. Because if you'll recall, when we first started our fortress, there was a lot of thievery going on of our chert blocks, and Ernst McCado felt that was notable enough to engrave. And I'm happy about that. I'd rather they engrave things that actually took place in our fortress. Ray Joseph, for one reason or another, engraved a flying squirrel man. And the Etruscan, in a nod to his friend Yozarian, engraved an image of Yozarian creating a masterful chert crown. Finally, one thing of note is that there is an engraving in the dining hall of a dragon, Lymar Flickersweltered. The Brands of Luxury. There he is. And she's dead. She was born in 272 and died in 70 by the human Thon Orange Crowded in a duel. Killed 20 people, though. And the particular engraving was Lymar striking down the human Petite Voice Trade in 48. So there he is, Petite Voice Trade, who is a member of the Confederation of Hail. So that's pretty cool. What else is worth noting? Oh, we did have our first named weapon, and it's pretty hilarious if you ask me, because it was named by Elena, who doesn't actually have any kills, and neither does the weapon, but she named her axe, her iron battle axe, the Hero of Rasps. So in 155 mid-spring, the Hero of Rasps received its name in Anvilquested from the dwarf Elena Starbreeze, even though I was under the impression you had to kill a lot of things with a weapon in order for it to be a legendary weapon, but I guess you could just decide to name your weapon, which is what she did. So we have our first named weapon, and they do show up in our artifact list. They're not technically an artifact, but they show up in the artifact list in a different color, in like a cyan color. So one last thing before we go is I was asked to show the caverns in 3D to kind of give you a sense of what they look like outside of the game engine, and I will do that. So here is Anvilquested from the sky. You can see there's our tower. It's getting a little bigger. Our outer walls. Here's the forest. the river, but we are going to go down into the caverns. And we can zoom in too if we'd like. There's Madame Tentaclehammer, Young Guan Yu, and Maragas. So let's go down into the deeps. We've seen all this before. Our living area. Okay. There's Katharina von Ulm, Captain Crocodile, Captain Communism, and Cabuys. Camos II. Leonard Yeldra. Ibracor. And here's the first level of the cavern. This is the level that we broke into. You can see these are the mushrooms, the giant mushrooms, and these are kind of the fauna. We can even zoom in a bit more so you can see it more clearly. And the different walls made out of different stones. You can see how it goes down a level here, see? And then there's the second level of the caverns. We can't see most of it, and I was actually a little worried that this 3D visualizer might show us parts of the cavern that we haven't seen yet. That is not the case. It does not, so we're lucky there. And you can see here we have some kind of high pillars. It goes down multiple levels here. This is apparently the bottom level. May not be, no, it's not the bottom level. It goes on forever, but this is the bottom level of this end of it anyway. And you can see the stems of the giant mushrooms. So, and here's our entrance here. This is where the killing ground is. This is where our archers will be, and this is the entrance for our archers. And then here's the part that we broke in, but we built the wall. So let's just zoom out real quick to show you the whole cavern area. So starts here. Oops. Starts here, goes down here, here. So it looks like as the cavern goes lower, it also moves to the north and to the west. Over here. So this is the part that we've discovered. We're going to send our troops in there soon to explore further. Okay, so there's more. What are you? You're a giant something. I can't quite tell. Ah, a giant toad. So there's a giant toad running around in the cavern. That's pretty dangerous. But yeah, so that's the cavern. That's first level of caverns. Then we go down further. No, that's up. I want to go down. And here's the second level, which we broke into subtly. You can tell the whole environment's a little different. The walls have a different stone. The mushrooms are different color, as you can see. There's red mushrooms now, purple mushrooms, black mushrooms. But we don't see very much of this particular cavern layer because we just cracked into it real quickly. But it's a bit more wide open. And remember in the first episode I mentioned that I actually changed the world generation settings so that the caverns are more wide open because those are the kind of caverns that I like the best. So we actually managed to see a lot of this cavern though. You can see it's pretty wide open, a lot going on. So this is going to be a fun one to explore. Multiple levels. So you can kind of see, like here for example, I know I'm showing multiple levels at once, so it might be hard to kind of get your bearings, but this part here is actually lower, which you can see if you press 9 to move down. See, there's water in it, and it keeps going down, so it's multiple levels high, whereas this right here, if you go up, well, it's 2 levels high, 3 levels high, and then you have the ceiling. And you have the stone kind of pillars supporting everything. So then you go down further, and here's our mining floor where we're getting the marble. The white is the marble. Go down even further. And here's our second mining floor. This is the mining floor that I designated to get tetrahedrite. And you can see I'm mining out straight columns, and then when I find tetrahedrite, I mine it out. There's also cobaltite on this floor, which is nice. It's dark blue, but it's not really worth anything. And there's white opal gems. There's also rock crystal, but rock crystal is pretty worthless. So those are my 2 mining floors. Let's see who's here. Nidoros, Stephanos, Dr. Congo, Fruitcake, Leverquin, Vika, Polat, Garnier Redsword, Cogsack. I think he might just be a regular dwarf. Anyone else? So the blue, as you can see, is the cobaltite. The white is the opal. And you don't see any tetrahedrite because I've mined pretty much all of it out. There's Ara and Artgyle. So, Okay. And then we move down yet again. No, I don't want to do that way. And finally, you see the magma and the third cavern layer. Not much going on with the third cavern layer, as you know, because we haven't actually broken into it, so we haven't seen much of it. But there are a lot of red mushrooms. There's, of course, the lava tube. Moving down, down, down. And here's our magma floor. Here's our metal stockpile and our dining and barracks. Well, not military barracks, but dormitory, I should say. And then here's finally our smelting floor. And underneath that is the magma sea. So yeah, that's the 3D visualization of where we're at this point. So once again, I am Marcus Aurelius. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.